In this session, I think what we're discussing is to do with the records management. I think we should be able to appreciate to say what are records, and I think in terms of my understanding of records, I think this is the information of an organization that has to be kept by the organization. So I think when you talk about records management, is how now do we manage this kind of information, how do we ensure that this information is secure and who has have to access to this kind of information. So that's the whole spectrum of records management. So organizations tend to develop or create a number of records within the organization. Could be manual or electronic records. By the end of the day, these records are not belonging to any person or individual within the organization or outside the organization. These records are for the organization. For example, you receive a letter from another organization but addressed to your organization. This letter has to be kept by the organization, regardless whether this letter has to go to the director of finance, but the director of finance doesn't own that particular letter. He is getting that letter by virtue of being director of finance, and even anyone delegated as director of finance should be able to have access to that particular letter. So what we're trying to say is, because these letters are not meant for the individuals who are in these positions, but they are meant for the offices. For example, if a letter comes to as addressed to the CEO, this letter is for the CEO's office. So regardless of who is in the CEO's office, this letter has to be accessed by the CEO, the current CEO who is in that particular office. So could be correspondences which were done years back. Yeah, so the CEO, by virtue of being in that particular office, has got the access to all the information even before he ascended or she ascended into that particular office, but they can be able to access such kind of information because that information is meant for the office of the CEO. So we tend to personalize information and all that, but what is important for us to appreciate is to say the information is meant for the offices that are there. Could be the director of human resources and administration. So the office is meant for the director of human resources and administration, and he has got the right or she has got the right to delegate to say who should have access to such kind of information. So whenever we have created the information, could be in terms of the manual records, for example, the electronic records, you need to define who should have access to such kind of information, for example. And how do you create such kind of information, for example? How do you file such kind of information, for example? For example, for the manual records, you might need to have proper files for each kind of documentation, which are well numbered, and also they have got names properly named, and also you might need to have filing cabinets where you can be able to file such kind of information. You may need to have like a filing index, which is going to determine, to tell you what kind of information is in this particular filing cabinet, or which kind of files are in this particular filing cabinet and all that. So what is important for us to appreciate is to say the importance of keeping records will not be overemphasized, because the moment a record is missing, you might find that the organization can be not so. For example, if a letter had come from a particular organization which was inviting you to attend a certain meeting, and that letter has not reached your office, for example, and now the people are waiting for you at that particular meeting, and only to hear that you did not receive that particular information. So it's always important to appreciate, to say whenever you have received such kind of information, be it through email, be it by hard copy, it has to be kept in appropriate place so that it's not missing and it's not mixed up with other records. That's why it's important for organizations to have proper files, or whether it's in a computer, you might need to have proper folders which are well documented, and also CRIs to ensure that whatever information is there is handy. One need to also appreciate, I think, whenever we are managing these records, at the time where people are changing offices, or someone is coming into the office, or someone is going out of the office, there is always need for handovers in terms of the information which has to be there, and who should have access to what information. You find sometimes when a new employee has joined, we're just giving him like a new laptop and all that. You might find that the predecessor of that particular office is not had a lot of information, but the one who is coming in to take up from that particular officer is not having such kind of information. So what we need to do is to know that each and every day we need to create a lot of record. And how do we secure such kind of record? To ensure that those people who have got such kind of access to such kind of record are well known, and who should have such kind of records. So as I said earlier on, there are manual and electronic records. So for example, the manual, I think you already alluded to, we should be able to file them accordingly. And sometimes you might find that we have records, for example, we might need to define our records to say, for how long are we going to keep this kind of records? How long should we be able to keep this kind of records? So you can be able to categorize. For example, I'll give an example. An organization might have record like title deeds, which you may need to keep as long as the organization is in existence. You might need to keep that information within the organization. Issues like blue books for motor vehicles, you might find that you should be able to keep them for a certain period up to the time maybe you have disposed that particular motor vehicle. So it's always important to appreciate which records have to be kept for this period and which records have to be kept for this period. And what is important for us to also to appreciate is to say, when you have now records, for example, which you have to keep for a longer period, you might need to archive such kind of record. And how do you archive? You might need to scan them and be able to put them in appropriate records, or some information may need to print it and even bind them and be able to put. And also even in the archive room where you're going to keep this kind, how do you protect this kind of information from access from other people, for example? And also, how do you ensure that such kind of an archive room is safe from fire and also other risks and rain and all these other things? So it's always important that you can be able to hire experts. For example, Change Consult Group, for your argument's sake, you might be able to reach out to Change Consult Group, who can be able to organize your data and also ensure that you're able to manage your archive in a proper manner, so that whenever someone is looking for information, maybe the chief executive officer is looking for information like maybe a letter that came from a certain ministry, should be able to fish out. So you have a file for a particular ministry. So all correspondences that are coming from that ministry, they are filed in that particular file. So it's easier to track such kind of information. So what is important is for us to also to appreciate who should be able to manage such kind of information, the confidentiality of the people who are to manage such kind of records, and also the integrity of such kind of people, because sometimes you might find that they can share information anyhow, willy-nilly. So they should be well trained and conversant. Even the officers that the information tend to pass through the offices, they should also be well trained. And also for electronic information, you might need to have a data center where is going to, the information has to be kept professionally and all that. Even when you can have mechanisms of how to deal with people who have leaked, let's say, for example, your records, for example, and what kind of gadgets were used to leak such kind of information, and be able to track such kind of information. So what is important by the end of the day is to appreciate that records management is very, very important, and that's the asset of an organization. For organizations to exist, you need to know the history, where you're coming from and where you're going. It doesn't make sense sometimes when a new person has gone into an office, doesn't know how the previous person was doing his work and all that. Now this person is being asked some other things, you might find that you cannot have information because there is no record, there is no information. That's why even I always argue, for example, for sake of electronic records, to say, when you are creating emails, for example, for officers within the organization, it's better to have customized emails in terms of the positions of a person. For example, you have HR director. Instead of Andrew Pili, you can say, okay, HR director, or HRD to mean HR director, and at Change Consult, assuming Change Consult Group has got an HR director. So you may need to have HRD at Change Consult than maybe each novi at Change Consult, because when you have personalize the emails. It's difficult sometimes for one to access such kind of, but in the email, you might find there's a lot of information that was being corresponded within the organization, but you are not knowing that this particular information is in the emails, because when the person has left the organization, you find another person might not be able to access that personalized email. So it's always important that emails or that the organization is using to communicate to other people is bordering on based on the position of a person. For example, a sales team might have just one email, sales@changeconsult.org, to ensure that each and every salesperson would be able to know what kind of sales needs, but they can be able to divide each other to say, okay, this one handles sales for this product, this one handles for sales of this product, this one handles so the emails that are coming looking for certain information, someone will be able to access that kind of information. So at the end of the day, or sales 1, sales 2, sales 3, sales 4, something like that, so that you're able to access your information in a professional way. But what I've observed is a big challenge for most organizations. You go into some offices, there are a lot of data information that is everywhere. So what is important for us to also manage to ensure that each and every organization have to know the importance of keeping records, why the records have not to be leaked outside, and also when to dispose of such kind of records. You're going to be able to agree to say, okay, this record, and even the method of disposing such kind of records, you should be able to agree. It's always important. So that's what I can be able to share with you when it comes to records management.